Okay, I think we are live. Hello, world. Welcome to another installment of Mr. FLIXTER Show. In this week's episode, I'm going to talk about the best non-horror movies of 2025. Last week, I talked about movies that pointed out what represents what's gone wrong in Hollywood. This week is all about movies that remind me about why I love cinema so much. But before we get to the main event, we're going to talk about the weekend box office update. And I got some birthdays and some deaths that I want to talk about. So let's get to it, shall we? Roll the intro. Thank you. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for clicking on my video.
He said he was on the verge of a discovery so terrific that he doubted his own sanity. There was a strange look in his eyes, a mystery.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Hello, world. I'm Chris Maxine, aka Mr. FLIXTER. Here to talk motion pictures.
Mr. FLIXTER.
Okay, I'm back. So, before we get to the main event, let's talk about some birthdays. We had a few in January. I'm just going to point out a couple of them. So let's share the screen. Okay. Put me in the corner. There we go. So the first birthday worth mentioning is Jason Bateman. Let's get his picture up, shall we? Here he is. He was born on January 14th, 1969, in Rye, New York. He turned 57. Happy belated birthday, Jason Bateman. Now, he's probably most famous for Arrested Development. I love that show personally. Go away. I'm not sponsored. Okay. But let's see what else he's done, shall we? Wow, he's got 106 acting credits. Let's take a look. His most recent movie was Zootopia 2. That's right, last year. And then he was also in Carry On. He was a villain in that. He was actually really good in that movie. I enjoyed that one. And then I heard good things about Air. That's the Nike movie. I haven't seen it though, 2023. Ozark was a good show. He was in 44 episodes of that. He was in an episode of The Simpsons. That's right. He was in 2 episodes. Wow. 2020, I think. 2020? Yeah. There's the reboot for Arrested Development that started in 2019, but there's 84 episodes in total. We'll get to the original soon. Game Night's really good. 2018. That's hilarious. Let's see. Office Christmas Party. That's a regular Christmas movie for me. Each year I watch it. 2016. Central Intelligence is really good. He's like a bully in that one. That was 2016 as well. There's the original Zootopia. Wow, 2016 was a good year for him. Yeah, 3 movies that year. And then, oh, he's in the Muppet Show, the reboot in 2015. That's right. Let's see, what else is here? The Gift is really good. For 2015, that movie's messed up. But I don't want to say too much. I don't want to spoil it. It's good though. Watch it. Horrible Bosses 2 was 2014. The original was better, but the sequel's not bad. Bad Words is hilarious. 2013. Highly recommend. Identity Thief is good too. 2013. That's got Melissa McCarthy. There's the original Horrible Bosses, 2011. And Paul, that's right. He's like an FBI agent in that one. 2011. That's the Alien movie with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. Seth Rogen is the alien. The Switch, that movie's messed up. 2010. Couple Street's good though. 2009. Up in the Air was pretty good. Also 2009. That had George Clooney and Anna Kendrick, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. State of Play was good in 2009. I forgot he was in Tropic Thunder. 2008. Hancock, that's a good one too. 2008, we got Forgetting Sarah Marshall. 2008, there's a lot of good ones here. Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium was 2007. Juno, also 2007. And The Kingdom was pretty good too. Also 2007. That was a good year for him too. This is fun. Let's keep going. The Breakup was okay. 2006. I forgot he was in an episode of Scrubs. I love that show. 2006. He was in one episode. I didn't know he was in Fairly Odd Parents. He was Tommy Turner, really? Whoa. For what episode? Probably like an adult version, I guess. He was in King of the Hill for an episode in 2005. That's cool. Starsky and Hutch. Oh, I forgot. Dodgeball. He is hilarious in Dodgeball 2004. And then Starsky and Hutch. Same year, though. The Sweetest Thing, 2002. That was pretty good. Rude Awakening, 2000. Let's see, what else? We're in the 90s now. What stands out? Some of these I haven't heard of before. Oh, he was in an episode of the original Matlock show in 87. That's cool. And he was in Teen Wolf too. I didn't know that. 87, that's cool. Okay, what else is there? Oh, he was in the show Saint Elsewhere for one episode in 1986. And then, let's see. Oh, he was in an episode of Knight Rider in 1984. In Silver Spoons, that's right. He was Derek for 21 episodes, 1982 to 1984. It was 82 to 84. I was just told I missed something. Oh, Mr. Belvedere, yeah. 86. He was in one episode of that one. It was a very popular show at the time. Same with Silver Spoons. Mm-hmm. And then he got his start, it looks like, on Little House on the Prairie in 1981 for 21 episodes. That's cool. And his first movie, these are all TV movies. How can I tell if I'm really in love? Unless this video, hold on. Let's see. Oh, his first movie was actually Teen Wolf 2. How about that? Cool. Happy birthday, Jason Bateman. Thank you for making us laugh our entire lives. Here's his picture one more time. What's your favorite Jason Bateman movie? Leave comments below and we can talk about it. Okay, the next birthday I want to talk about is Patrick Dempsey. Here's a picture. He was born on January 13th, 1966, in Lewiston, Maine. He just turned 60. Happy belated birthday, Patrick Dempsey. So let's take a look at his body of work. Go. Not sponsored. Cool. Let's see. He's got 79. I thought he would have had more acting credits. But let's see. He was in his most recent show was Memory of a Killer. I don't know what that is. It's new this year. He was in 3 episodes of that. But then he was in the Dexter reboot for 10 episodes. That's cool. And he was in Thanksgiving. Yeah, it's 2023. He was really good in that. I love that one. He was in Ferrari in 2023 as well. That's right, he's in Disenchanted in 2022. It was a pretty good sequel to Enchanted. And then there's the big one, Grey's Anatomy, of course. 247 episodes. Wow, can you believe it? That's a lot of episodes. The show ran from 2005 to 2021. That's cool. Well, I never watched it, but I heard good things. Let's see what else is there. He was in Bridget Jones's Baby in 2016. I thought there was another Bridget Jones movie. I guess not. He must not have been in it. No, it's not there. Okay. Moving on. Let's see. There's the original Bridget Jones Diary. No, that's Bridget Jones' Baby. My apologies. Let's see. He was in an episode of Phineas and Ferb, 2013. He was in Private Practice. That's the same character. I guess they did a crossover. I didn't know that for 2 episodes. That's cool. He was in Transformers, Dark of the Moon in 2011. That was a good movie. And then Valentine's Day was 2010. Maid of Honor was pretty funny. 2008. There's the original Enchanted, 2007. I didn't realize that came out that long ago. Oh, I skipped ahead. Okay, yeah. Brother Bear 2 was a direct-to-video release in 2006. He was in The Practice for 3 episodes in 2004. Let's see. He was in Sweet Home Alabama. That's a good one. 2002. What else stands out? Oh, that's right. He was in 3 episodes of Will and Grace. In 2001, I'm assuming. Then there's another big one. Scream 3. 2000. Let's see. What else is here? What stands out? Oh, he was in a TV miniseries of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea in 1997. It was 2 episodes. That's cool. I might look into that one. That's a classic story. I love that story. Outbreak, 1995. Classic. Let's see, what else is here? He was in an episode of the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, apparently. Okay. In 1989. That's awesome. What else is here? Meatballs 3, Summer Job, 86. Fast Times. Oh, that's not what I thought it was. Never mind. It looks like his first movie was Heaven Help Us in 1985. Cool.
What about Can't Buy Me Love? What about Can't Buy Me Love?
Oh, and then there was Can't Buy Me Love in 1987. I missed that one. My apologies. So once again, happy birthday, Patrick Dempsey. Let's get your picture up here again. Okay, I'm just gonna check to see if there's any comments. And then I got one more birthday. No comments, that's cool. Oh, I didn't do it. Oh yeah, still sharing. Okay, cool. Okay, one more birthday. And that one is Tom Selleck. Let's get his picture. Here we go. Probably most famous for Magnum PI, but I'll get into his career. Excuse me. He was born January 29th, 1945, in Detroit, Michigan. He just turned 81. Hey, you believe it? So let's get into his career. Oh, not scrolling. Here we go. Now I'm scrolling. He's got 90 acting credits. Impressive. Of course, there's Blue Bloods. That's his most recent show. Wow, that's been on since 2010 to 2024. Wow. 293 episodes. He was in Killers. That was pretty good. 2010. He was in the show Las Vegas. That's right. For 19 episodes. 2007 to 2008. He was in... Oh, that's a game. Oh, there's the movie. He was in Meet the Robinsons. That's right. 2007. The Disney movie. Let's see. What else is there? Oh, yeah, that's right. He was Richard in Friends from 1996 to 2000 for 10 episodes. He was in The Closer, 98. I remember that show. 10 episodes. He was in and Out in 1997. Mr. Baseball, 1992. That movie's hilarious. Three Men and a Little Lady in 1990. There it is. Magnum PI, 1980 to 1988. 158 episodes. And Three Men and the Baby, 87. He was also in Murder, She Wrote for an episode in 86. I was 1 year old. Oh, he played himself in the Muppet Babies show in 84. He was in the show Taxi for 2 episodes from 78 to 1983. And he was in the show Too Fast. Simon and Simon for an episode. Well, interesting. He played Magnum. I guess they did a crossover. He's in the Fall Guy show as himself for 1 episode in 1982, and the Rockford Files for 2 episodes. That show aired from 78 to 79. What else is there? We're in the 70s now. Oh, he was in Charlie's Angels for an episode. 76. And then Mannix. That sounds familiar. 75 for 1 episode. Let's see. Some of these I've never heard of before. We'll just keep going. Okay, his first TV show was something called Lancer in 1969 for one episode. His first TV movie was The Movie Murderer. That's a funny title. In 1970. It looks like his first movie was Myra Breckenridge. Sure. 1970. Awesome. So happy birthday, Tom Selleck. You are truly an icon. Leave your favorite Tom Selleck movie in the comments. Or TV show. I liked him on Friends. I think he's really good in that one. Okay. And now, hold on, before I do that, any comments? No comments. Okay, cool. Moving on. Now I must sadly report a tragic loss. Recently, we lost Bruce Bilson. Mainly known as the director. Here's his picture. He was born on May 19th, 1928, and he passed away January 16th, 2026, in Los Angeles. His cause of death was natural causes. He was 97. May he rest in peace. Can we just get a moment of silence, please, for Bruce Bilson? Thank you. So let's just go over his career. Go away. Not sponsored. Okay. We'll just stick with directing. He's got 121 directing credits. Wow. That's impressive. He was working. The last thing he directed was a video called Journeys Below the Line, Lost, a cinematography team in 2007. Okay, but his last TV show was Viper. He did 10 episodes between 1994 and 1999. Looks like he did the Love Boat remake in 1998. He did the Sentinel show from 96 to 98. He did 11 episodes. He's more known as a TV director, but still. He directed Dinosaurs. Oh my God, I love that show. 1991 to 1993, 17 episodes. He did a lot of episodes of Dinosaurs. Wow, I didn't even know that until right now. That's awesome. And Touched by an Angel, my mom watched that in 1995. He directed 2 episodes. He did P.S. I Love You in 1991, 1 episode of that. He did the Flash TV series from 1990 to 1991. He directed 4 episodes. He did something called The Monsters Today. I guess that must have been a reboot. In 1989, he did Dynasty, 3 episodes between 88 and 89. Let's see, what else is there? He did Smokey and the Bear in 86, the original Love Boat. He directed 5 episodes between 1981 and 1986. He did the original Dallas in 1986 for 3 episodes. He directed 9 episodes of the original Fall Guy show. A lot of people don't realize that movie with I know his name. Ryan Gosling. Oh my god. That was actually based off that show. And that show ran from 82 to 86. He directed an episode of The Twilight Zone in 86. Wow. What else is here? He directed an episode of Knight Rider in 82. And Private Benjamin, he did 4 episodes between 81 and 82. He also directed Simon and Simon for an episode in 81. He did Barney Miller. That was a good show. He did 10 episodes of that between 1976 and 1981. This is fun. Let's keep going. He did The Bad News Bears. Wow. 79. They did a lot of classic TV shows. What else is here? He did The Wonder Woman show in 1977 for 1 episode. And Hawaii Five-0, he did 9 episodes of that between 74 and 76. He did the original SWAT for 3 episodes between 75 and 76. He did the original show, The Rookies, between 74 and 75 for 3 episodes. He also did The $6 Million Man in 74. He did 1 episode of that. There's The Brady Bunch. He did 4 episodes of that between 73 and 74. He also did The Partridge Family. That's funny. He did both shows. Between 72 and 73, he did 2 episodes of that one. And he did Sanford and Son. In 1972, he did 1 episode. There's The Odd Couple. Between 1970 and 1971, he did 6 episodes. And Green Acres, that's a good show. That show is hilarious. He did 1 episode in 71. He did 25 episodes of Hogan's Heroes. Wow. Between 67 and 71. He did an episode of Mary Tyler Moore Show in 71. He did an episode of Bonanza in 1970. And he did The New Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. That show ran between 68 and 69. He did 3 episodes. There's the big one. Get Smart. 1965 to 1968. He did 22 episodes. Oh, and Bewitched. He did an episode in 1968. That's cool. I didn't know that. That's why it's fun to look back at the careers on IMDb. So his first TV show was called Karen in 1964. He did 1 episode. So there's a little rundown of his career in a nutshell. Let's get his picture up here one more time. Rest in peace, Bruce Wilson. You might not recognize his name, but you've seen his shows, I bet. Okay. I'm back. Okay. Here I am. Okay, and now it's time for the weekend box office update. I didn't share my screen. Okay, so last week it was January 30th to February 1st. The number one movie at the box office last week was Send Help. That's the new Sam Raimi picture. It made $19.1 million its opening weekend. Not bad. Number two was Iron One. That's the video game adaptation from Markiplier, the YouTuber. It made $17.8 million. That's awesome, considering it was an independently made movie. And number three is Melania. For some reason, it made $7 million. That's the documentary about the First Lady, of course. I have no interest in seeing it, though. Number four is Zootopia 2. This dropped a spot, but it made $5.9 million. It went up 11%. That's not bad. Its total so far is pretty impressive, too. It's made $409 million domestically. We'll get into the international box office a bit later. And number five is Avatar 3, Fire and Ash. It dropped 3 spots. It made $5.6 million. Not a bad drop. It's only 11%, almost 12. And it's only made $368 million, but I wonder if this is just counting 2026 or if this is total. But again, I'll get to the international box office a little bit later, so we might get some clarification. But this has been out for 7 weeks. Zootopia 2 has been out for 10. So at number 6 is something called Shelter. I'm not familiar with this one, but it's made $5.5 million. The opening weekend for that one. And number 7 is Mercy. This one dropped 6 spots. It made $4.5 million this weekend, but it dropped 57.8%. Ouch. It's been out for 2 weeks. That's a big drop off. And number 8 is The Housemaid. I saw this one recently. I wasn't really a fan. I didn't really like it. But it still made $3.4 million. And it's made $120.6 million so far. It's been out for 7 weeks. And number 9 is Marty Supreme. This movie may be discussed tonight. Who knows? We'll see. It made $2.8 million last week, and it's made $90.7 million so far, which doesn't sound as high as the other one, but this is also an independent movie, so that's pretty considerable, considering it was a low-budget film. And that's from A24. It's been out for 7 weeks. I think it came out around Christmas time, but more toward the end of 2025. At number 10, rounding out the top 10, is 28 Years Later. The Bone Temple made $1.5 million, but it dropped 54.2%. Ooh, damn. And it's only made $20.6 million after 3 weeks, so it's not doing very good. And it hasn't really gotten good word of mouth. Rounding out the honorable mentions here, 11 to 15, we have Hamnet with $1.5 million. Made $20.2 million. Again, this was an independent movie, so that's pretty considerable. It's been out for 10 weeks. Number 12 is Return to Silent Hill, dropping from number 7. It didn't even crack $1 million this week. It's made 5.1 million, and it's only been out for 2 weeks. Ouch. That's another big drop off. That's not good. At number 13, it was at 13 last week too. Anaconda. It made 822,000. I saw this one recently. It's not as bad as people are saying. I don't really get the hate. I kind of liked it. I thought it was funny. Made $63.6 million so far. And 14, we have the horror movie Primate. I haven't seen this one yet, but I'm looking forward to it. It's made 814,000. It dropped 47.6% though. That's almost half. Ooh, ouch. And it's made $25 million so far. That's a Paramount release. I didn't know that. Okay, cool. And then number 15 is Back to the Past. I don't know what that is. But it made $694,000. So, hey, that's good. You got honorable mention there. So that is the domestic box office for last week. Let's look at international. Worldwide is what we want. Okay, so these are the highest grossing movies of 2026 so far around the world. Number 1 is actually 28 years later, The Bone Temple. Really? Okay, cool. Didn't know that. Gotta take back what I said before. They made $54.1 million worldwide. Wow, okay. Number 2 is Mercy with 42.2 million. Number 3 is Send Help with 36.7 million. Number 4 is Primate with 36.7 million worldwide. Number 5 is Iron Lung with 30 million. Number 6 is Greenland 2 Migration. I didn't know they made a sequel to that. With $25.8 million. It's doing pretty well. Number 7 is Shelter with, ooh, that's a big drop. 16.4. Almost 11. That's about $11 million difference. At number 8 is Hypnosismic Rap Battle Division Rule the Stage Battle of Pride 2023. Wow, that was a mouthful. It's $15 million. At number 9, we have Return to Silent Hill with $13.8 million. And number 10, we have Extra Worst. I have no idea what that is. Probably a German movie. $13.6 million. Then rounding out the honorable mentions are Melania with $12 million for some reason. And then number 12 is Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, to 2026 re-release. That's cool. Just shows how much the fans have the dedication for the franchise. $8.1 million. Number 13 is Checker Toby 3. I'm not going to try and say the German part there. $7 million. At number 14 is The Moneymaker with $6.8 million. And number 15 is The Three Investigators, Isle of Death. So that wraps up the weekend box office update. And now it's time for the main event, people. I want to talk about the top 10 best non-horror movies of 2025. Let's face it, Hollywood ain't what it used to be. But these movies show signs of hope. The movies can be art, not just content to be mined. Kind of like Playdate, for example, which I talked about last week. So if you want to know what I think about that movie, make sure you check out last week's episode. In an ever-changing world, overstuffed with entertainment, all these movies have one thing in common. They remind me why I love cinema so much, or why I fell in love with it in the first place. So before I get to my top 5, let's discuss some honorable mentions. So I'm just going to share my screen here. So on Letterboxd. Oh yeah. I have one more disclaimer. Hold on. I just want to point out, I didn't see every movie last year. I mean, there was like over 300 releases last year. And a lot of things I just didn't have access to because I don't go to a whole lot of like press screenings or anything like that. And I've never been to a film festival before. So I can only watch things that get released like wide for the most part. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I watch stuff that I have access to. Some of the movies are streaming, some of the movies are theatrical. So let's get to it. Oh, I'm also not usually a fan of the typical like Oscar bait movies. So while I have seen movies like Hamnet and One Battle After Another, those won't be appearing on my list. Sorry to disappoint you. Stay tuned to find out what is on my list. Okay, now that I said that, let's go here. Okay, so last year, because I've been keeping track all throughout the year, I watched 155 movies as of this recording. Actually, didn't mean to click on that one. But yeah, if you're curious, you can check Letterboxd out. My list is public. I'll keep updating it too as I go along, but I'm pretty comfortable with this list. Like I said, like The Secret Agent, it's a foreign film. I didn't really have access to it, so I haven't seen it. So best non-horror. There we go. So these are the movies I'll be talking about tonight. Right now, they're just in the order of their release. If it loads. Oh, hold on. Refresh. There we go. Okay. Here they are. I wasn't sure if I can get that all in one frame or not, but there we go. Cool. So, just like last week, these aren't going to be full reviews. I'm just going to kind of give the abridged version of my reviews. But if you want to read my reviews, they're all available on Letterboxd. Feel free if you're interested. All right. So the first honorable mention is Warfare. Go away. I'm not sponsored. Here's the poster. Here is the description on IMDb. Go away. Here we go. A platoon of Navy SEALs embark on a dangerous mission in Ramadi, Iraq, with the chaos and brotherhood of war retold through their memories of the event. Now, this is not your typical action movie. Think of it like this. What if you could be inserted into a platoon of Navy SEALs on a mission gone wrong, experiencing modern warfare in real time? Warfare answers that question. It was written and directed by Ray Mendoza and Alex Garland. Now, it's interesting because Mendoza is a former soldier. So he and Garland interviewed multiple veterans to craft a script based off memories rather than official records. And they make a point to state that early on in the movie, too. They don't say inspired by true events, they say inspired by memories. That's a big distinction. These people lived through it, and this is what they took away from it after all these years. And despite all the technical military jargon, the script is easy to follow. It gives an immersive glimpse into the trauma, camaraderie, and the chaos of war. It would have been a little higher on the list if it weren't for the fact that there's really no context to what's going on outside of what we're watching in the movie. And by that, I mean, we don't really know why they're on this reconnaissance mission. We don't really know who the soldiers are as far as like where they came from. We don't really know the enemy specifically. Like, we know they're military insurgents, but we don't know if they're like what faction they're from, you know what I mean? And we don't really see the repercussions for what we saw. The movie just kind of stops abruptly. But you're there, you're in the moment, in real time, because it all takes place. Like they say they have so much time before something happens. And then like 2 minutes later, just like they said, it happens. It's actually pretty cool. Kind of like 24 did that too, the show. So it's not really plot driven. There's no flashbacks and there's no romantic subplots about the girl back home or anything like that. And there's no exposition heavy moments. By that I mean there's no like phone calls to like mom back home or like if I can only see my baby, you know, something like that. There's none of that. That's all stripped away. There's no spectacle. You witness a mission unfold in the day life of real soldiers. Some of whom are still active today. So the end result is a tense, immersive, emotionally raw experience. It's shot almost entirely in one location with minimal music. The silence and natural sounds amplify the tension. I found myself often listening for things to see if I could hear anything. Sometimes the sound drops completely after explosions, because I imagine that's what it would feel like in real life too. You get that ringing in your ears, and then you get that disorientation. The sound design is so impeccable because it makes the film a multi-sensory experience. You're not just watching what you're seeing, you're feeling it. I love when movies can do that. They do a good job of putting you in their shoes. A notable strength is the depiction of Iraqi civilians. They're humanized, not vilified, and treated like people rather than plot devices. The Americans even attempt to protect them when they get caught in the crossfire. There's a scene where it shows a grenade gets thrown into their house, these civilians, and the soldiers jump on top of it to shield them. So the film acknowledges moral complexity rather than simplifying either side as heroes or villains. There's a lot of gray area there. And I like how it doesn't show all the Iraqis are villainous people either, because it's not like that. That's just reality. You can't just condemn an entire race because there's been a few bad people. That's absurd. It could be argued that American soldiers unjustly occupied the Iraqi civilians' homes, therefore putting them in danger. However, I got to push back on that. Because what about the fact that insurgent Iraqi soldiers also occupied homes with a complete disregard for the civilians of the country they're fighting for? It's well documented that enemy fighters would torture and kill Iraqi civilians who didn't help them. I've been watching a lot of different interviews with different veterans who have seen the movie. And according to their accounts, a lot of these insurgent Iraqi soldiers would take over mosques and use them for horrific things. They would call for prayer times, but it was actually a form of communication to coordinate attacks against different soldiers from different countries. Well, American soldiers, let's be real here. But like I said, not everyone is depicted as evil. And the soldiers here aren't completely innocent either, but I'll get into that a little bit later on. The cast is incredible. It includes DeFaro Woon Atai, sorry if I butchered that, Will Poulter, Cosmo Jarvis, Kit Connor, Finn Bennett, Joseph Quinn, and Charles Melton. They do a good job of humanizing the soldiers as they navigate through fear and confusion, rather than your typical cinematic heroics. Nobody's wearing American flags. Nobody's giving these motivational speeches to take out the bad guys. This isn't a story about victory. It's more about survival. They have a scene with Joseph Quinn where he's screaming for like 5 minutes straight because of the antagonizing pain that he's in. It's particularly unnerving because these people actually had to sit here. Well, first of all, he got incredibly hurt by an explosive, first of all, which is sad. But all these people remember him screaming for that certain amount of time, and it's in real time. So it's literally like 5 minutes straight of this guy, and this movie is hard to watch. Not just because of the violence, because of how realistic the situation is. These people actually went through this stuff.
And this movie's making them relive it.
So Alex Garland as a director is pretty hit and miss with me. But this is the movie that I was hoping Civil War would be. I was really disappointed with Civil War last year. I've never seen a war film shot and edited this way. By stripping away the Hollywood excess, Garland and Mendoza convey the pointlessness, the trauma, and fleeting moments of humanity inherent with war. It's uncomfortable, unflinching, and unforgettable. Putting my personal political opinions aside about the Iraq War, the fact remains that the movie depicts an experience that these soldiers remember. There's a reason they chose this moment, because it stuck out in their minds. This is by no means a character-driven movie or a plot-driven movie. I wouldn't even really consider the outcome to be a victory without spoiling anything. Just because the nature of the mission. They have to retreat, but I don't want to say too much. So it's not exactly that they win. It's all about, can they stay alive or not? And that's a totally different way to angle a war story. It's also not glorifying war. It shows the hopelessness and the pointlessness of warfare, while still honoring the memory of the people wounded or who died during the events that happened of the movie. Because these soldiers, they volunteered the rest of their lives. And I really do believe in honoring veterans. Even if the cause isn't great, they're still fighting for their country. And they died for their country too. So that deserves respect. This film isn't for everybody. It's violent. It's got heavy emotional weight. And it's got this relentless realism. But if you're willing to confront it, it offers a rare personal insight into what it's like to live during combat. So it's similar to Black Hawk Down and similar to Saving Private Ryan, but it's all about substance. It's not about style. Like I said, this is not a heroic war movie. So if this was done by Michael Bay, it'd be a completely different movie. But no, I kind of appreciate the way that Garland approached it. He's all about emotional weight, the heaviness. So thank goodness for that. Just remember, all is unfair in war. So my official grade for Warfare is an extra large popcorn. I'll just check the comments real quick. No comments, that's cool. Moving on. Oh wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. One more thing about Warfare real quick. Get that poster back up. Here we go. Cool. It was made in the budget of $20 million, and it made $34.9 million at the box office. Just wanted to add that note. Okay, now we're moving on. The next honorable mention is Black Bag. There it is. If it loads. There we go. Okay, so here's the poster. By the way, it's that classic spy thriller poster. So, Black Bag was made on the budget of $50 million, and it made $43.8 million at the box office, which is really sad, and I'll tell you why. This movie was written by David Koepp and Steven Soderbergh, two Hollywood legends. So if this movie would have came out in the 90s when the box office was a little bit healthier, this probably would have made like $100 million at the time. This would have been a huge box office success. It just shows how much Hollywood has changed, and that's the sad part. But anyways, here's the synopsis according to IMDb. So more people aren't talking about this one. When intelligence agent Catherine Woodhouse is suspected of betraying the nation, her husband, also a legendary agent, faces the ultimate test of whether to be loyal to his marriage or his country. The concept alone is fascinating. So in this one, Soderbergh returns to his roots with a throwback to 90s spy thrillers. Not only that, this movie looks and feels like it was made from that era. Like it could have been released in the 90s and it would have fit in with everything else at the time that came out. He uses multiple lenses and camera angles with a variety of shots, ranging from wide to close-ups, to evoke high levels of intrigue. Long takes are used while showing someone talking or to show reactions of what somebody just said, rather than focusing on the person that's speaking. So it's a different approach of filmmaking. That's cool. The first 2 minutes is incredible. It's one continuous long take that follows behind Michael Fassbender while he's backlit and slightly out of focus. It creates a sense of fascination as the spy world is introduced. A problem with this movie I do have, though, is the lighting. Sometimes it's too dark because they use natural light most of the time, which I don't think looks good in movies. And then they have this bloom lighting that obscures people's faces sometimes. It's kind of distracting. But yeah, the way Cap wrote the screenplay, all the puzzle pieces are there for a great spy thriller. We have the debonair anti-hero, we have the femme fatale, we have the genius hacker, we have luxurious lifestyles on display, we have fancy dinner parties, we have beautiful exotic locations, and a layered plot full of betrayal that's genuinely unexpected. I couldn't predict where this movie was going. That doesn't really happen usually. There's even this post-Cold War paranoia, a theme that shifts between like global powers and like rogue agents and new technological threats. But Kep subverts all these cliches by implementing them in unconventional ways. So, in case you didn't know, in real spy terms, a black bag operation is code for covertly entering a location to steal or copy delicate materials. In the script, when there's pertinent information that's unspeakable, it goes into this inaccessible metaphorical space. Beneath the surface, it's symbolism for the compartmentalization. I'll try that again. Compartmentalization of marital trust. When characters can't talk about something private, they say black bag. Then immediately change the subject, whether it's personal or professional. So I like how it has multiple layers to the meaning. That's clever. And make no mistake, this is by no means an action movie whatsoever. So don't go in with that expectation. This is almost a crime noir with corporate espionage. It places the importance of atmosphere over car chases and explosions. I wasn't expecting to laugh as much as I did either. The humor had me consistently chuckling in between the more intense moments. So Michael Fassbender plays George. He's the debonair anti-hero. His first couple lines of dialogue really sum up who his character is. When he's given his mission, he requests 2 weeks to complete it. But then when he learns about the gravity of the situation and how serious this is, he retorts by saying, "Give me 1 week." That's what I mean. Like, it's unexpectedly funny like that. It's so offbeat. It really catches you off guard. He's cool, calm, and collected. A smooth operator who knows he's good at his job. Michael Fassbender plays him exquisitely too. I can't really imagine anybody else in this role. That's how good he is. It's awesome when actors can really lose themselves in the characters like that. The same goes for Cate Blanchett as the femme fatale. There she is there. But she's nearly unrecognizable. I've never seen her with hair this dark before. It's very striking. Her powerhouse performance proves why she's been around for so long. Her piercing eyes, combined with her emotionally versatile range, make her entirely believable as this sultry socialite with a dark side. I really didn't know whether or not she was guilty or innocent most of the time, mainly because her acting is so good. You can't tell when she's being legitimate or when she's just playing the spy role. Very well done, very subtle acting. And even though she doesn't have a whole lot of screen time, not as much as I would have wanted, it doesn't really matter. She really does leave her stamp on the film because of this performance. Period. One thing, too, that the script focuses on that you don't really see too often in movies is it depicts a strong, resilient, healthy marriage. Because never at any point in time in the film, because these two are the married couple, Fassbender and Blanchett. But there's never a point where one of them puts the other one down to bring themselves up. They complement each other well, metaphorically and literally. I just wish they had more screen time together because a lot of the time it's him investigating her and like spying on her, which also has lots of implications about marriage too and like privacy and stuff like that. So that's what I mean. This movie's really interesting. It's really fascinating. It makes you think. I love when a good script does that. The ensemble cast is pretty good too. Most notably, there's Pierce Brosnan. He plays their superior. He's right there in the middle. And then Naomi Harris is in this too. She was in 28 Days Later. It's good to see her pop up and stuff. But this cast, they're so good at nonchalantly playing cloak and daggers with each other. Each conversation is exhilarating because of the nuances they bring. They have this polygraph scene, and it's more suspenseful than most of the movies this year because of the quick cuts and the close up during the question and answer portions. You get the question, you get what they say, you get the questionnaires reaction, you get quick cut to the polygraph and how it's reacting to. And other people are spies, so they know how to lie. So it just makes it all the more fascinating. That's what I mean. I love this movie. It's so good. They got these dinner party scenes too that also show enticing, detailed dialogue with conversations that pay off later on. So if you're, it really rewards you if you're paying attention to the conversations. It's all about the conversations here. So there's great cinematography, there's great direction, great creative visual choices because a lot of times the camera is like on an angle in a room that you don't normally see, and it's kind of put a little bit further back. It's kind of like a medium shot. It feels like just someone standing in the corner of the room watching what's happening. It doesn't even feel like it's being filmed as a movie, if that makes sense. And it's got a brilliant score that turns what could have been a familiar spy thriller into an unpredictable, entertaining film. The score really adds to everything else going on. Love it. So it takes a tired formula and reworks it into the information age by updating the technology. It doesn't rely on spectacle. This is all about substance. More movies should be made like this. This is an intelligent masterclass on the classics and excelling in style and acting. So if you like movies like The Usual Suspects and Mr. and Mrs. Smith, then this movie's kind of like that, but those movies are more action oriented. This is not. It also kind of reminds me of Clue because it's a whodunit. You got to predict who it is, but it's a little bit more serious. It's funny, but not that absurdist comedy that Clue has. Clue's almost a parody, but anyways. So my official grade for Black Bag is an extra large popcorn. And remember, in the spy game, you play for double O nothing. Just gonna check for comments.
Nothing.
No comments. That's cool. We'll move on. The next honorable mention is The Roof Man. Again, I'm surprised more people aren't talking about this one. Here's the poster. So this was made on a budget of $19 million, and it grossed $34.7 million worldwide. Here's the synopsis according to IMDb. Go. Not sponsored. Okay. A charismatic criminal, while on the run from the police, hides in a hidden space of a toy store. There, he adopts a new identity and becomes involved with a new employee, beginning a relationship as unlikely as it is risky. I love this movie. It blew me away. And here's why. Sorry, I'm just pulling up my notes here. Okay. I went in completely blind. I didn't know anything about this movie. All I saw was the poster. I didn't know about the story. So, this was a delightful surprise with a sweet sentimentality, with plenty of laughs, surprises, and considerable emotional weight. It's not quite a heist movie. It's not quite a rom-com. It hits that sweet spot right in the middle. Will this flick steal your heart? It stole mine. It's refreshing because while it does say that it's inspired by true events, and I usually take that with a grain of salt, it does this thing during the end credit scene. This isn't a spoiler, it's just to put things in the context. But they actually play real news segments and interviews with people involved with this story. So, fair enough. So the movie stars Channing Tatum and Kristen Dunst. They're the leads, and they have immense chemistry. A film like this hinges on the lead actors having that rapport that feels natural. Otherwise, if it feels too forced, it could be considered unbelievable. That's not the case here. They honestly give the best performances that I've seen in anything they've been in before, especially Tatum. I couldn't believe how good Tatum does in this. He's way more dramatic than I expected. And Dunst gives this sincere, delightfully droll performance. And I feel like she deserves awards. She got snubbed there. I don't think she got nominated for this movie, and that's kind of sad. Their scenes are poignantly staged, making the romance so much more touching. You really believe the relationship. It was directed by Derek Serafrance. Sorry if I butchered that. And I love how it delicately frames scenes in a way that serves the emotion needed to be conveyed. For example, the comedic parts are a little bit more fast-paced, but they're well-timed. And the dramatic moments or the romantic parts slow down, giving them room to breathe. You can really feel those moments. It doesn't just rush over that. It's a nice touch. The screenplay is by Isaiah France and Kurt Gunn. Again, sorry if I butchered that. It's a simple premise that's excellently paced, so a multitude of genres can be explored. That's what makes the film so hard to categorize, because the seamless blending of the two different genres. But again, this is by no means an action movie, so don't go out expecting that. I don't want to say too much about the plot because part of the fun is the discovery. But basically, well, Channing Tatum plays this guy, and what he was doing back in the early 2000s is he was going to different McDonald's restaurants, and he was breaking in through the, he was getting in by roof, and he would wait for the employees to show up, and then when they got there, he would put them into the freezer, and he would rob the restaurant, right? So that's where he got the name, the Roof Man. But then he got arrested, and then he escaped from prison, so he was a fugitive. And what he ended up doing was hiding in this Toys R Us, and that's where he met the Kristen Dunst character because she worked there. And then he kind of has this double life. And the fact that this all actually happened was like, oh, that's incredible. It really shows that fact is stranger than fiction sometimes. Sure, I'm sure they embellished some stuff. Like, it's always hard to tell what's Hollywood and what's not Hollywood. But for the most part, it's a pretty compelling story, especially if you consider most of the stuff did happen. I like how this movie shows that actions have consequences too. Certain circumstances happen, therefore it leads to another thing happening, and then because of that, this happens. It's logical storytelling. So there are plot holes that arose, but they get addressed in satisfying ways later on in the film. This film also does something I haven't really seen before. Because one of my biggest, okay, if you're familiar with my channel, one of my biggest movie pet peeves is the liar reveal story, because it's done so many times. I'm just sick of seeing it. And this movie has that, but it handles it in a way that I've never seen before. And I really appreciate that. So without saying too much, I don't want to spoil anything, but what they do is they completely skip that liar reveal portion of it. There's never a scene where he confesses to Kirsten Dunst, sorry, that he's this con artist, like robber, fugitive guy. No, they skip that part and they deal with it in the reconciliation afterwards. It's really cool. It's hard to describe, but the conclusion makes it all the more fulfilling. It's without spoilers, it's really hard to talk about, but there you go. You have that for you. Yeah, watch it, and you'll see what I mean. But honestly, this book stole my heart, y'all. This is really one of the best rom-coms that I've seen in a very long time. It's touching, it's charming, it's funny. It's similar to I Love You, Philip Morris, and Catch Me If You Can. So if you like those movies, you'll like this one. Because like I said, sometimes fact is stranger than fiction. So I gave this one an extra large popcorn. That's the roof, man. Let me check the comments real quick. No comments? Okay. Moving on. So the next honorable mention is Jay Kelly. This was a Netflix movie. I'm not typing. Okay, here we go. Try that again. Much better. Let's get this poster going. So I couldn't find the budget in the box office for this one. It's harder for streaming movies. A lot of times they don't even report that stuff. There's like no public record of it. But I will read the description according to IMDb. Go away, not sponsored. Thank you. Famous movie actor Jay Kelly embarks on a journey of self-discovery, confronting his past and present with the devoted manager Ron. Poignant and humor-filled, pitched at the intersection of regrets and glories. Okay, that just scratches the surface about what this movie's about. So let's just start off by saying I love Hollywood movies about Hollywood. The insider look from people that have been in the business for years. That's the best point reference for a movie like this. So this was directed by Noah Baumbach. And right off the bat, this movie caught my attention because the way they filmed the opening scene. They shot it in one take with the camera panning around this movie set with different people shouting out different things to each other. It's all about setting the scene up. And the camera moves around. It shows different silhouettes and people are moving around in the background until the camera finally stops on the scene that they've been setting up and talking about. And then the camera starts rolling in the movie that they're making. It's really cool the way it transitions. The choreography, the coordination, and the timing are remarkable. It's also an encapsulation of the film itself. It's self-aware, it's meticulous, and it's deeply cinematic. Right off the bat, it tells you this is for movie people. Most of the movie actually takes place in Tuscany, Italy. So it shows these breathtaking European countryside landscapes, filmed mostly in wide shots. You can really see the vastness of the environment. It's gorgeous. This movie's beautiful to look at. The script is by Baumbach and Emily Mortimer. And really, what it's about is this explores the cost of fame. Jay Kelly's life is glamour, accolades, and influence. It's also deeply isolating. Sure, he's surrounded by entourages, but they lack that authentic human connection. They're not really his friends, if you know what I mean. His relationships with his daughter, his manager, and his peers reveal the personal toll of a career that led him to stardom. It's not just about narcissism, it's about regret. It's about that search for meaning beyond the spotlight. At its core, it's a midlife crisis where Jay Kelly confronts the emptiness behind his celebrated image. And he debates with himself whether or not that was worth it. Now, there's a really clever portion where it's in Tuscany and he's on this train. And George Clooney is walking like down the aisles with the different passengers, but then he gets toward the back of the train and he starts looking into the different cars. And it does this cool thing where it shows flashbacks of his life, where it led up to how he got where he is. Because he's in Italy for this tribute to him that they're doing by this like Italian Film Academy or something. It's not really clear, but they got this huge well, they just call it a tribute. They wanted to honor his life and career, basically. But the way it does these sequences, it's kind of dreamlike, and it adds this level of like surrealism to the film, which really elevates the narrative. It takes it to a whole nother level. But sometimes the symbolism is a little too on the nose, if you catch my drift. I mean, there's a section where Jay is literally lost in the woods for a while, same with Adam Sandler's character, Ron. And then there's another scene where there's a lot of people on this train that are like fans of Jay Kelly. So people are literally getting on the J train. You know what I mean? Like, I was just like, really? I kind of rolled my eyes at that, but it's kind of funny because those parts there undermine that surreal dreamlike quality that I was talking about later on. So the film's kind of at odds with itself a little bit. And it sort of seems like the filmmakers kind of distrust the audience, like they couldn't put two and two together themselves, but it's all right. I'll let it slide because these are small issues in an otherwise visual, elegant, thematically deep, and thoughtfully paced film. George Clooney perfectly embodies Jay Kelly's charm and weariness. He captures that paradox of celebrity, admired, revered, yet profoundly lonely. Honestly, only 5 or 6 people could play this part. I was trying to think about it, and the only ones that I could think of that could really play this role accordingly were people like Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, Mel Gibson would have been good in this role. Kevin Bacon could do it. Julia Roberts, and Nicolas Cage. But George Clooney does a good job balancing that celebrity bravado with the undeniable underlying melancholy. Adam Sandler drops his usual comedic stick for a grounded, moving performance as the manager. I think this is his best performance since Uncut Gems. Like, that's how good it is. And Billy Crudup shines as the foil. He was a former actor who couldn't quite reach the stardom that Jay Kelly got, and then he ended up having an ordinary life after that, after he tried his bid in Hollywood that didn't go as well. But his performance carries emotional weight and underlines the sacrifices that Jay made. There's this scene where Billy Crudup's character is reading the menu, and because they're trying to do like acting exercises with each other, and the way he does it is just beyond phenomenal. I was spellbound. It's just he's sitting there reading the menu. Just think about that. But he makes it dramatic and he makes it riveting. And I couldn't believe the way he did that is just incredible. And Laura Dern's in this too. She gives a subtle, grounded performance. She balances between introspection and the real world stakes of what's going on here. If Jay Kelly were to quit movies, it'd be a huge financial loss for a lot of people. So she's snarky, she's intolerant of others, she's comedically fierce. I just wish she had a bigger role. She's not in the movie all that much, but she still shows when she's in it. So, rather than being self indulgent stargazing, this flick is a diamond in the sky. It's a solid dramedy with excellent acting. I can't overemphasize how good the acting is. It's an introspective look at how fame shames both public and personal lives. Fans of actor centric storytelling, European vistas, and films that make you think about legacy and regret are going to like this movie. It really says something about actors of Jay Kelly's caliber because what they're trying to depict is someone who's like a movie star, like who George Clooney is. It's got a nice little montage of clips from actual George Clooney movies too. So you can tell what they're trying to do here. They're trying to pay tribute to this guy too, and that's nice. Someone like George Clooney, he deserves something like that. Because if you think about it, and this is what the movie's really about, the definition of a movie star has drastically changed these days. Movie stars of this caliber are few and far between now, if you think about it. Sure, there's tons of celebrities, but there's only a handful of genuine movie stars, and those are the ones I listed before. There's a big difference between the two. These types of people are a rarity nowadays, and that's sad to me. So this movie is a good reminder of why those types of movie stars were so important, and still are. Why Hollywood needs these movie stars. They have a multi-generational impact through performance, cultural resonance, and pure screen presence. We all have a Jay Kelly. The point is to expose the fragile humanity and keep deep regrets hidden behind the movie star's public persona. And that's whether a true connection is possible after a lifetime of self interest. People forget. Celebrities are people too. So if you like movies like The Fabelmans, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, and My Old Ass, I highly recommend this if you like those. Because this movie captures the actor fan dynamic with fun fantasy elements. So I give this one a large popcorn. The question remains, who's your Jay Kelly? Okay, I'm just gonna check comments. No comments, that's cool. Moving on. Still sharing, cool, okay. And the next honorable mention is actually a tie. Because I couldn't decide which one I liked more. And I didn't want to leave either one of these out. So screw it. I'm just going to include them both. And which one I talk about first? Okay. K-pop Demon Hunters. The other one's also animated and it's similar in the sense of including like folklore, mythology, but I'll get to that one soon. Let's talk about K-pop Demon Hunters. I love this movie. I was actually kind of surprised how good this movie was. I didn't think I was going to like it. It blew me away. So this was a Netflix movie. It was made on a budget of $100 million, but it didn't get a wide release. So it only made $24.6 million at the box office. In fact, it was so popular, it got a theatrical release with a sing-along version, kind of like what Wicked did. So here's the synopsis according to IMDb. Go ahead. A world-renowned K-pop girl group balance their lives in the spotlight with their secret identities as demon hunters. This movie has a lot of good things going for it. It was directed by Maggie Kane and Chris Applehans. Sorry if I butchered that. The beginning sets up the tone immediately, sort of like what Jay Kelly did. It showcases quirky humor, stunning animation, and a catchy song. That's right. This is an animated musical. And it's so good. The anime art style, combined with 3D animation, creates a unique visual identity to separate itself from more traditional fully CGI films. That's because the bright colors add a volume and dimensions to the shapes. You can kind of see it there in the poster. I love the character designs. Each one is distinctly unique. My favorite is the tiger Derpy, accompanied by Sussy the magpie. Hold on, I'll see if I can get a picture of him. I'm sure there's a picture. Let's just scroll down a bit. Go away. If it loads. Oops. Here we go. That's actually a cool picture. Okay. There's Derpy. Oh wait. That's filter. Still frame. There he is. That was fast. That's Derpy. He's so cute. Let's see if I can find the magpie. You can kind of see the magpie there too. But yeah, there's a 3-eyed magpie. So let's see if I can find that one. Go away. Let's see. There's Derpy again. I'll get into why this is so cool in a minute. Hold on. I just want to see if we can find this bird. Let's see. Go away. Let's see. Thank you. Don't see it. Oh, perfect. Here we go. Can I zoom in? But yeah, there's the bird. You can kind of see the 3 eyes there. Maybe there's a better picture. Go away. Okay, scrolling. Don't want to go too fast though. Let's see. There's Derpy again. Guess the bird isn't as popular. There a picture of just the bird? No? Scrolling, still scrolling. No, okay. Let's go back to the other picture. Where was that? Not that one. Back down. Let's see. There it is. Cool. Yeah, you can kind of see that he's got the hat. He's got 3 eyes. But really, it's all about Derby. He's my favorite. Now, the reason this is so cool is because those 2 character designs are actually based on a type of Korean folk art that was popular during the Joseon period. Sorry if I butchered that. I'm not really sure about Korean pronunciations, but that was between 1392 and 1897. The art style of ancient scroll illustrations is remarkable. That's why it's so cool, because it really resembles the artwork of ancient Korea. The script was written by Danya Yamirez, Hannah Mechnin, Kane, and Applehans. Sorry if I butchered that. Let's go back to the poster. If it loads. There we go. Cool. I love how it involves Korean mythology. Korean shamanism, more specifically the Mudan, are traditional female spirit mediums who serve as intermediaries between the mortal world and the one of the gods and spirits. They perform their rituals with special songs, movements, and costumes. Huntrix, the girl group that the movie's all about, these girls, you can say they're Huntrix, draws on the power from their fans to cast and strengthen the Han Moon or Soul Gate, which hold back the demons. It separates their world from our world. The historical significance of the usage of the rituals is contextualized, so it makes sense in modern times. I would have included this in the top 5, but the film's main flaw is the fast pacing. It lacks depth at some points, such as some of the side characters like Mira and Zoe. It's more about Rumi, the girl in the middle. Her. But there's Zoe, and there's Mara. Sorry, Mira. And it doesn't really talk about their master, their trainer, Celine. It does a little bit, but they could have went more into their relationship too. There's many questions that were raised that remain unanswered, such as Rumi's father. It mentions him, but doesn't really get into who he is. And again, this has one of my biggest storytelling pet peeves, the liar reveal plotline. However, Rumi's arc parallels the experience of coming out in terms of parental and societal expectations. I found her incredibly relatable being bisexual. She's instructed to hide that part of herself away from the world at an early age. The hiding grew into deep shame until she held contempt for her demon half self. It gets to the point where it literally silences her voice. The focus on shame, identity, and healing is evident. Rumi's arc can symbolize anything from, well, not just queerness, but it could also represent like trauma, addiction, depression, and even being biracial. So I'm fine with that plot line in this movie because they make it more lifelike in that sense. I also like those small details, like the fact that Huntrix uses traditional Korean weapons. And then there's this demon boy band in the group called the Saja Boys. So in Korean folklore, the Jeosun Saja, sorry if I butchered that, is sort of comparable in Korean folklore to the Grim Reaper in the Western Hemisphere. And it's also the Korean, Saja is also the Korean word for lion. So that's why they use that as their logo for the band. So again, I love the deeper meanings. I love how they evolve real things from Korea culture. And I like how each of the girls has their own distinct fighting styles too. I noticed there's a combination of martial arts in this. They use Taekwondo, Wushu, Aikido, and Jiu-Jitsu. It's awesome. I've always had a huge appreciation for martial arts movies. That's how I recognize the techniques. So Arden Cho is the speaking role for Rumi. And then the singer Asia does the singing parts. Sorry if I butchered that. Most of them actually, the speaking role and the singing part are different people. But still, the songs in this are incredible. I can't overemphasize how much I love the soundtrack. It blends original songs supporting the story with chart topping K pop sounding hits. There's a lot of actual K pop artists that worked on this movie too. Like people from Blackpink and BTS worked on this film. So out of the 12 songs that are in this movie, my favorite are Golden and How It's Done. That was the first song. Golden's all over the radio. I'm sure you've heard Golden. So those are a lot of reasons why this flick goes to the beat of a different drum. I love folklore and musicals. So this is right up my alley. This is also a rarity in a sense that it's an original premise, clearly inspired by pop culture, that retains its own identity. It's not a copy of anything, because of its own art style, music, directing, and writing. And it's steeped in lesser known Asian folklore, because the Western Hemisphere is probably more familiar with like China and Japan. I'm not even that familiar with Korean folklore, admittedly. So when I was doing my research, I found I found my research educational and informative. I didn't even realize how much was actually involved in it when I was watching it at the time. But how it inspired me to look deeper into Korean culture is a testament to how engaging the film was for me. It's all about being true to yourself, generational pressure, facing your personal shame, the power of friendship, and the blurred lines between good and evil. Above all else, it's about the power of music. The songs are diegetic. While being catchy, they either push the narrative forward or accentuate the action sequences. I also firmly believe that the best songs in musicals can be understood out of context outside the musical. You don't have to see the movie to get what the song's about. And that's why these songs are so good, especially those two I mentioned, How It's Done and Golden. I'm not really a fan of K pop music, but this made me want to explore the music genre. I have a new appreciation of it because of this movie. So it's similar to Buffy the Vampire Slayer in the sense that it's a young woman balancing supernatural demon hunting with everyday life, identity, and relationships. It's also similar to the Spider-Verse films because of the experimental animation. And this movie also reminded me of Chicago, the musical, but replaced jazz with K-pop because it's a theatrical, self-aware musical, the way that it's structured, where characters normally break into song. And they're not exactly full-blown Broadway-style musical numbers either, but all the different musical numbers that are kind of required and essential for a musical are there. You have like the want song, you have like the 11 o'clock hour number, there's the villain song, you have more comedic like ensemble songs. Like it's really good. So despite my issues of it feeling kind of predictable and it is rushed sometimes, these can be forgiven because of the bold kinetic action, the music synchronized with the editing, and the heightened anime art style. They all serve the storytelling. So I can see why this was so popular on Netflix. This blew up. I just wish I could see this in theaters. This didn't get released in my area. So am I ready for this? It's an extra large popcorn. And remember, these girls really do show you how it's done, done, done. So let's check comments. No comments yet. That's cool. Moving on. Final mention is Nausea 2. There are a lot of people online saying Nausea, but in the movie they say "nuh." So I'm just gonna pronounce it like they do in the film. There it is. No, I love because both 1 and 2 are playing on Paramount Plus in Canada. That's how I was able to watch it. But I watched the English dub version. I haven't seen the original subtitle version. Here's the poster. I just want to get that out there. So if you've been following my show, then you know this movie has dominated the box office all year long. It was made in the budget of $80 million. And it made $2.5 billion. Not million, but billion. Incredible. And I can see why. But before we get to that, let's talk about the plot. What is this about? Who the hell is Nausea? That's what I was asking before I saw this. Like the visuals, my goodness. Hold on, let's just look at these visuals. I just don't want to show too much. Incredible. Okay. That's probably for that. Okay. After a great catastrophe, the souls of Nausea and Owl Bane are saved, but their bodies face ruin. To give them new life, Taya Genre returns to the mystical seven-colored lotus in a daring bid to rebuild them and change their fate. Okay, that only scratches the surface. This is a sweeping, epic masterpiece, and I don't use that word lightly. I really don't like using that word, but sometimes movies deserve it. I just try to preserve the importance of that term. So, this was written and directed, now bear with me because I don't speak Chinese, by Zhao Ji. Sorry if I butchered that. But the film, well, both 1 and 2, is based on the novel The Investor of the Gods. Now, in Chinese folklore mythology, I found this out in my research, Nausea is a complex figure, a precocious teenage deity known for defying authority, but has a devotion to humanity. He's considered to be a protector deity, and in more modern interpretations, he's a patron of misfits. But He originated in India through Buddhism, existing in China long before this novel was written. In fact, the earliest record of nausea dates in China back to the Tang Dynasty between 1618 and 1907 CE. As legend goes, while playing in the sea, nausea infuriates the Dragon King. As a result, he must stop him from flooding his hometown. That's basically what the first movie is all about. And yes, you really got to see the first one to fully appreciate and understand what's going on in this one. But the first 15 minutes of the sequel recaps the movie pretty well. But I still recommend you don't go in without watching the first one first. Now, this movie does everything that a proper sequel should do. It moves the story forward without repetition. It develops characters further that we already knew. And it builds upon the folklore world already established, which raises the stakes and it retains the tone of the original. But it approaches it from new, deeper angles. This is a more mature film, too, considering what it's all about. I love the updated character designs, too. It's been enhanced, so everything looks sleeker and there's more details as far as texture. There's even, I noticed the tiny little hairs that are barely noticeable on a person's face, they actually took time to animate that. That's incredible. It just shows how outstanding the level of detail is. They didn't have to do that, but they did. And the last hour is so large in scale, it's imperative that this film is animated because of how many characters are involved with all their little individual movements. A movie of this scale just couldn't be live action. They'd have to do it CGI anyways, and it just wouldn't look good. More than 4,000 people across 138 animation companies participated in the creation of Nausea 2. More than double the first film. The first film had about 1,600. Now, to put this into perspective, for Avatar, The Way of Water in 2022, approximately 1,700 people worked on that movie. So this was double that. And even for the Lord of the Rings trilogy, more than 2,400 CGI animators were employed over the 5-year production of all 3 films. So that tells you how much work was put involved in this movie, how many people were involved. That's outstanding. That's astounding, even. It's almost incomprehensible. It's mind-boggling. I would love to see the storyboards for these action scenes to really understand how intricately planned out all this choreography is. Like, this is one of those movies, you have to see it to believe it. I just wish I could have saw it on the big screen. I had to watch this at home on TV. So a TV just doesn't do this justice. Some movies were made to be on the big screen, and this is one of them. And I love how they use traditional Chinese music. The score is by Wang Pingchu, Ru Yang, and Rock Chen. Sorry if I butchered that. But it shifts tone accordingly. For the more cinematic scenes, it's got these sweeping, epic musical cues. But for more comedic scenes, it's got this fun, bouncy music. So the way it switches is pretty good. And it really elevates the battles to this grandiose opulence. So overall, this Chinese animated blockbuster is certainly worth all the hype. I can see why it made so much money. People went to see it, and then they kept seeing it in theaters. As someone who's always been fascinated with history and ancient culture, I'm very satisfied with what was presented here. A lot of the stuff I didn't even know about, so it made me want to look into it further, and that's cool. Kind of like K-pop Demon Hunters. It was educational and informative, not just entertainment. That's a great example of substance over style. Sorry, style over substance. I said that backwards. I'm all about substance over style. And this is also a testament to how original animated movies can be successful if they're given the proper time, care, and they're made with passionate artistry in a world where I feel like animation is sort of a dying medium. And for the most part, when they're made, they're wrote by committee. Especially in a world with the oversaturation of live action remakes. This film makes me hopeful. I really recommend this film because it's the antithesis of that. It's about themes of defying your destiny, questioning authority, loyalty, living with shame, resilience, overcoming, family, and leadership. So if you're interested in movies about gods clashing with demons and monsters, then this film's for you. It's sort of reminded me of Kung Fu Panda meets Lord of the Rings meets God of War, but it's all Chinese folklore. And it's really exciting too because this is supposed to be part of a planned trilogy. So if part one is A New Hope in Star Wars context, then this movie is Empire Strikes Back level caliber. Like it's that good. That's what I would compare it with. That's how epic it is. I just hope Disney and DreamWorks are taking notes. So my official grade for this one is an extra large popcorn with an extra large dragon egg on the side. I'll try that again. Extra large dragon egg on the side. All right, let's get to it, shall we? Excuse me. This concludes the honorable mentions. All right, so let's get to the list. I proudly present my top 5 non-horror movies of 2025. All right, at number 5. Hold on. I want to make sure I get this right. Where's my list? Cool. Okay, number 5. Thunderbolts. I didn't share my screen. Here we go. Put myself in the corner. Okay. I love this movie. This blew me away. Here is the poster. So this was made on a budget of $180 million. And Thunderbolts made $382.4 million worldwide. Which sounds impressive, but if you consider you have to double that for advertising, this movie barely made its money back. Which is sad because it was really good. Okay. So here is the synopsis. Go away. After finding themselves ensnared in a death trap, an unconventional team of anti-heroes must go on a dangerous mission that will force them to confront the darkest corners of their past. I've had actually a pretty good description. Some of them have been a little off, but hey. This is directed by Jake Schreier. Sorry if I butchered that. He goes outside his comfort zone to make a genre film he hasn't done before. He accomplished what I think other superhero movies this year couldn't do. They have a clear vision with specific tone, accompanied with splashes of humor. This prevents the film from becoming too morose, a true saccharine. The tension between the flawed anti-heroes is where the humor is found. It was written by Eric Pearson and Joanna Carlo. Again, sorry if I butchered that. I love how cleverly concise they unite these strangers in a speedy manner. They all get assigned to assassinate somebody else. That's a really clever way to get them all together really fast. You don't need a whole lot of explanation for that. And the fight scene, where they all meet for the first time, displays their dysfunctional group dynamics, as well as their respective power sets. I love how it's shot in long takes with quick camera rotations. It gives an energetic, comedic, thrilling action experience. Florence Pugh is really good as Yelena, the White Widow. She has this scene in the beginning where she's fighting a bunch of guys in a hallway. It's a long take, but the shadows are lit. But the scene is lit so that the shadows are cast in a way that the shadows are stretching down the length of it. So you can see the shadow stretching all the way down the hallway, and that's a nice foreshadowing. Because it plays against this monologue about feeling stuck in a void. Nuanced filmmaking like this, I really appreciate. That right there sets up the whole movie. The anti-hero redemption arcs maintain tension, allowing for emotional moments to breathe, while the action is seamlessly stimulating. However, some characters do get sidelined because of oversaturation of characters. There's way too many characters in this movie. David Harbour plays Alexei / the Red Guardian. Sebastian Stan is Bucky / the Winter Soldier. Wyatt Russell is U.S. Agent. Louis Pullman is Bob, aka the Sentry. Julia Louis-Dreyfus is Valentina. Hannah John Kamen, sorry for butchered that, is Ghost. And Olga Kurilenko, sorry for butchered that, is Taskmaster. So that's what I mean. There's a ton of characters in this. So obviously some are going to get sidelined so others can get the spotlight. But yeah, Florence Pugh is really good as the lead because she does a lot of subtle acting choices that most people probably wouldn't notice. She gives the other actors time to shine when she shares scenes with them because she uses these facial expressions and her body language to react to others without saying a whole lot. So she's still engaged with what they're saying, but she's actively listening at the same time. So she gives these genuine focused reactions as the other people are delivering their lines. That's how I think she lets the other people resonate a little bit more. She has really good scenes with David Harbour too. They're the heart of the film. These two, that father-daughter relationship. I kind of wish Sebastian Stan had a bigger role, but he's playing the seasoned veteran, and basically his role here is just being like the torchbearer that kind of passes along the torch to the next generation of anti-heroes. and he's more of like a mentor. I really liked Wyatt Russell's performance too. He's trying to redeem himself despite his anger issues and his self-loathing. But it's that comparison to Steve Rogers that really fuels his motivation. So it makes it feel a little bit more personal. Like his pain is probably more relatable because everyone gets jealous of someone else's success, right? We're trying to measure up to someone else and they just couldn't quite do it. And I loved Lewis Pullman as Bob/Sentry. Just think of it like this. What if Superman had a severe diagnosable psychological issues? But aside from being dark, he's also good at having this witty side too. He's got some of the funniest moments in the film. It's a fascinating blend that not many people could pull off. I love the fight between Sentry and all the Thunderbolts too, because it really shows off his power set. Although the CGI in the scene is questionable, sometimes Sentry looks rubbery or fake, and the CGI isn't as good as some of the past MCU movies. It's kind of disappointing that earlier installments sometimes look better than movies now. But hey, a lot of artists don't get as much time to work on stuff nowadays. A lot of stuff gets rushed out. That's just the Hollywood system. I love how the Void looks, though. He's got this creepy character design with an impending sense of doom because he's almost entirely black except for his eyes. His eyes like glow white. It's really creepy. It's cool. And most of the movies in this, sorry, most of the hero, most, try that again. The anti-heroes in this, for the most part, have punching powers. So that contrast really raises the stakes. It's just the way they defeat him in the end is kind of the easy way out, but there's no other way they could have done it. They kind of wrote themselves into a corner, but they didn't. They had to do it in a way that didn't completely diminish his power set, but still make sense. There's also this weird subplot with one of Valentina's assistants that's kind of working both sides, but it never really gets resolved. So it feels kind of unnecessary. They could have cut that from the film to give more time for other characters. But along with that character and a couple other characters, it's kind of questionable why they're even in this movie because they don't really have anything to do with anything else. Some of them are just gone and are there and gone so quickly. It's just like, oh, well, that was kind of pointless. But I don't want to say too much. I'm trying to keep these non-spoiler if I can. It is sort of refreshing to see them resolve the conflict the way that they do because they don't really do it that way in superhero movies too often. A lot of times it ends in this big spectacular fight scene, but this film doesn't do that. It subverts expectations, so I kind of respect that. But this is the culmination of several MCU movies and shows, so I can see how some newcomers could be intimidated because they're not fully caught up with everything going on in the franchise right now. But I don't think you have to see any of those things to get the context of what's going on here. I mean, they explain everything pretty well. They go into the backstories of the characters for the most part. For the most part. I'm perplexed why Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross isn't in this movie, though. I thought they would have included him in some capacity, given that the team's namesake is based off him. And he was set up in the last movie. His character hasn't been in the movies in a long time, and then they bring him back, and then there's no mention of him in this movie. So I thought that was weird. But overall, I think the MCU successfully assembled a new team to avenge the franchise. The final Phase 5 film is more personal because it's character driven, not over reliant on action. And it's not a multiverse movie, so that's good. I'm glad they're finally getting away from the multiverse stuff. It's really about overcoming. All these characters are flawed with personal pain, and they have different ways of dealing with it. This film exemplifies that by showing different perspectives and how your choices can shape your own personal character. I can't help but compare this to a couple of the superhero movies that came out this year that were ensemble films, where this excelled, where I felt like those ones failed. Last week I mentioned Fantastic Four. So I'm not going to say too much about that because I already extensively covered that last week. But basically, the emotional moments collapse without the proper groundwork, leaving a muddled theme and stakes that never really land because the director prioritized empty spectacle over character. And then there was Superman, directed by James Gunn. He used his signature visual flair, dynamic camera work, and he created this strong flight / action sequences. However, there's this tonal clash between the superhero spectacle, the humor, and the seriousness of what's going on. The plot in Superman is overstuffed, well, like more so than this one. And it diminishes Superman's sense of formidability. Like he's not really the hero in that movie. He's not even really the main character in his own movie, and I thought that was messed up. Sure, the Superman Lois dynamic was effectively anchored, but the supporting cast was uneven. I mean, Green Lantern was good, he stood out, but Hawkgrove was sidelined, and so was Mr. Terrific. And Lex Luthor was mischaracterized, which completely undermined his threat. Though the themes of hope, responsibility, and identity were present, Gunn's stylistic excess diluted the emotional impact. So there wasn't a very good balance between spectacle and moral, emotional weight. Schreiber, however, achieves emotional resonance by intertwining the character arcs with the film's themes and using the action as more of an afterthought, but not in a bad way. Thunderbolts is more about loneliness and redemption and the consequences of past actions. That's why this one works where the other ones didn't. And I got to put this out there too. I got to warn people. Some people might feel uncomfortable with with the subject matter of depression, and this movie even goes into suicide too. It's more of a literal interpretation. It's not symbolic. Characters are at peace when they think that they're gonna die. I mean, it's not shy about it at all. It pretty much tackles it head on. So if you're not comfortable with that topic, beware. But yeah, I think this is one of the best team up MCU movies since Deadpool and Wolverine or No Way Home. So if you like those movies, I highly recommend this one. So my official grade for Thunderbolts is an extra large popcorn. Isn't it funny how the best Superman movie wasn't even made by DC this year? All right, here I am. All right, where's my list? Here it is. Number 4 for best non-horror movies of 2025, Eternity. What did you think of the Thunderbolts? Leave comments below and we can talk about it. Oh wait, I almost forgot to do that. Hold on. Put myself in the corner. Let's go back to Letterboxd. Okay, let's edit this list. Oh, I have to go back, I think. Yeah. Here we go. So, Thunderbolts. It needs to go here. I think that's right. Yeah, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, wait. 5. this one get taken down by Nasia. Okay. Oops, too far. Oop, too far. Okay. Those two are together. Imagine a couple of those. Okay. So that's 5, 4, 3 each. Okay. Cool. And then Eternity goes next. That's in my way. Okay. Put this up. There we go. And then I'll move those ones later. So there we go. Thunderbolts, Eternity. Good. Okay. Let's talk about Eternity. If I can spell. There it is. I love this poster. Go away. Come on. Here we go. Eternity was made on a budget of $12 million. It made $13.6 million at the box office worldwide. Here's the description according to IMDb. Honestly, I'm surprised more people aren't talking about this one. This is incredible. In an afterlife where souls have 1 week to decide where to spend eternity, Joan is faced with the impossible choice between the man she spent her life with and her first love, who died young and waited for decades for her to arrive. Now, the concept alone is very intriguing. Now, again, I saw this movie completely cold. I was sold on the premise alone. I didn't see any previews or the poster or trailers or anything like that. It was directed by David Frayne. Sorry if I butchered that. I'm terrible with names, I swear. But I love how the sets are designed for the afterlife. It's sort of like a train station and sort of like a luxury resort. It kind of reminded me of Beetlejuice, the way they have the bureaucratic office idea for the afterlife. But in this, they call it the Junction. And when the new arrivals show up, they get their AC, the afterlife coordinator. But it's got these huge gleaming hallways designed with this sterile, brutalist architecture, softened with bright, colorful cinematography that gives the film a whimsical atmosphere mixed with bittersweet, morose undertones. This film is gorgeous. It's so colorful. It's written by Pat Curran and Frayne. Sorry for butchering those names again. But the script keeps a simple plot, which leaves room for well-defined characters with clear motivations. They have room for personal growth. Too many movies these days are overstuffed with unnecessary subplots. Sometimes, less is more. I sort of described that in some of the other movies I talked about tonight so far. But what the script does a really good job of is setting up plot devices early for further explanation later on. For example, it poses questions of what if someone doesn't want to accept that they're stuck in eternity and they don't want to choose an eternity to go to? Later on, it shows that answer. And that complicates matters innovatively for the main characters later on without saying too much. I don't want to spoil these movies. These movies are all about the experience. You got to see them to really fully appreciate what they are. The pacing is a bit uneven in this movie, though. Like it starts off strong, it considerably slows down in the middle before picking up speed again and toward the end. So it's also got this fun concept where after you die, you go to eternity at the age of when you were happiest in your lifetime. So there's a bunch of little kids. Some people are older. Some people are like 20 somethings, 30 somethings. I thought it was clever. It's actually a pretty funny running gag later on. But this concept, it's not just played for laughs. It has a deeper meaning that adds context to the plot. There's a lot of layers to this film, and that's the cool thing about it. It's also pretty clever, the different types of eternities that you could choose from. They have like queer world, they have man free world, there's like a naked world, there's Paris world, there's like a mountain wilderness world, beach world. There's even a capitalism world. Like it's funny. There's so many different ones, and I like how they have it. It's kind of like advertisements for like vacations or something like that. Or when you go to a hotel, you see all the pamphlets for all the different attractions or around the area for like tourist spots. It's just like that. Pamphlets are all different like eternities you can go to. They have ads. I'm playing on TVs with different eternities. It's really funny. But this movie's not just played for laughs. There's a good blend of drama and humor. It's got moments of witty dialogue, but it also gives time for serious moments to sink in too. The humorous moments establish connections so that emotional impacts hit harder. Dramatic scenes are played completely straight. It's wise not to have jokes in those portions because that would totally undercut the moment. For example, there's the section in Eternity that you can visit called the Archives. And it's long, dark tunnels where you have like these stages where you could watch memories from your life, like a play. So for Joan, it shows how she meets Luke, which is here. And then this is Larry. Luke is played by Callum Turner. Larry's played by Miles Teller. Joan is Elizabeth Olsen. But it shows how she met Luke. It shows their first date. It shows how she met Larry. It shows the night where she first said, I love you to both of them. It shows her marriage to Larry. And it shows the final goodbye to Luke before he went to war. See, Luke died when he was young. So he's been waiting for her in eternity for like 60 some years. He didn't pick an eternity. He picked to stay as like a bartender in the junction area so that when she came back, they can go on eternity somewhere else together. He ended up going to war. I'm not sure if I said that. But this is when the lightheartedness fades and the movie turns into deep reflection. Joan even recounts her funeral and she relives her death. This is gut-wrenching stuff. But it's not completely out of nowhere because it's all about death in the first place, right? So they set it up from the beginning. That's what I mean. This bittersweet level of balance. It's really good. It actually makes the emotional moments that much more impactful. Bring tissues. But the cast is really good. They got a good character dynamics. I love the love triangle in this. Miles Teller is witty, charming, and endearing. It's funny too because even though he looks young, he does a good job of acting older. He acts like an old man, and same with Elizabeth Olsen too. Even though she has this younger body, she does this good job of having mannerisms of an old person. And even the two, when they bicker like an old married couple. I love nuances and performances like that. They didn't have to do that. They could have just played it straight, but they didn't. And Callum Turner, he died younger, so he still has this young, cocky attitude. And I really like how they all play off each other. You can see why she fell in love with both guys at those times in her life. Because character dynamics make or break movies like this. They all have tremendous chemistry, and they all balance off each other very well. It's as effortless as a squash ball bouncing off a wall. The movie also has Divine Joy Randall as Anna. She's one of the ACs, the afterlife coordinator, and she's good in everything. She has some of the more funny scene stealing moments, but again, her role has some heart. She really sympathizes with these people, and she wants to help them the best that she can. The score was composed by David Fleming. The music sets the mood perfectly. It's subtle, more restrained when needed, but it ramps up during comedic parts to suit those moments too. Good scores fluctuate to fit the moments like that. So overall, this rom-com is heavenly. You get it? Eh? Eh? It's so refreshing, like really though, to see original concepts play out in unexpected, satisfactory ways while posing philosophical questions about life, love, and happiness. The profundity of longing, memory, and that crossroad in life that you didn't get to live compared to the one that you did makes you think. I love movies that make you think. The heart of the film lies with the dilemma of choosing between your first great love and your last great love. Luke promises a life that Joan never got to live, while Larry is the one she actually lived with. It's about life, love, and loss. It makes you appreciative of moments that your partner does that drive you crazy because those moments are what you love most about them. On, on a more personal note, this made me contemplate my own life. I found this movie relatable because I lost my partner 5 years ago. So it really hit close to home. Really hit close to home for me. Sorry. Okay. I say a second. This movie might be too uncomfortable for people because of the subject matter. It might be too close to home. But I thought it was really interesting how it deals with grief and the subject matter as a whole. Now, if you're not older in life and if you've never lost somebody, you might not relate to this movie the same way. So it all depends on your background and where you came from. So if you're younger, you might not appreciate it as much as the older crowd does. And if you've never been married before, then you might not appreciate this movie. But for someone who has lost someone that I was married to for 15 years, this really hit close to home for me. And that's why I love this movie so much, because it really made me think about my life and it made me appreciate what I don't have anymore. And it made me appreciate who is in my life now and the new love of my life. Excuse me. I just need a minute. I'm okay. That's why I love this movie so much, because it's really personal and it really made me think. It touched my heart, and that's what good art should do. This movie also has a timeless quality to it. This movie feels like it could have came out in the 40s or the 50s. And even though I complimented the cinematography and how colorful it is, I'm really curious how this film would look in black and white. I want to see a black and white version of this movie. So if you love older movies that they just don't make anymore, or if you're like me and you've lost them, that you've been married to for a very long time, then this movie's for you. Remember, this flick looks at an acute love triangle from an obtuse angle. I give this an extra large pop. Okay, let's go to the comments. No comments. Okay, cool. Well, moving on. Hold on. Let's go here. Okay. I didn't expect to get so emotional there. I apologize for that. So, next on the list, at number 3, F1. I'm actually really surprised nobody's talking about Eternity as much as these other movies. Maybe it didn't go for the advertising for the Oscars. Maybe it didn't care about that. That's kind of respectable too. But anyways, let's talk about F1. This is a happier movie. Yeah, Eternity's a gut punch. Bring tissues. You were going to cry your eyes out. I did. All right, F1. There it is. Now, if Eternity is an example of the classic rom-com, this is an example of the classic sports movie. Here's the poster. Not gonna lie, the poster's kind of boring. It's very gray. It's very meh. All right. So F1 was made on a budget of $200 million, and it made $631.8 million worldwide at the box office. So yeah, huge financial success. And I can see why. Let's get into it. Here's the synopsis first. Maybe. If it loads. Here we go. Cool. Go away. A Formula One driver comes out of retirement to mentor and team up with a younger driver. Now, I know what you're thinking. I've seen this movie before. And you would be correct. But this does things a little differently. Sort of like how Eternity did things differently, but in different ways. So you're right to ask yourself, is this flick the fast and the familiar? It was directed by Joseph Kosinski. And Apple designed these custom onboard cameras that were sort of based on iPhones, and they used them to film inside the cars during the racing sequences. With the help from Sony, the cameras were shrunk down to about a quarter of the size that Kosinski used for Top Gun Maverick for inside the jets. And they put up to 4 cameras in each of the cars at one time. They're also designed with this special Panavision so it could rotate from like one side to the other side. I love how it pans to either direction. So they use these camera-mounted cars for all these chase scenes. So it makes you feel like you're inside the car with Brad Pitt or the other drivers. Sort of like how they did with Top Gun Maverick, but on a different level. This has some of the most intense racing sequences I've seen in a long time. because of the innovative way it was filmed. It's almost indescribable, and it needs to be seen to believe. Like the way I'm describing it doesn't even do justice to the way it looks. One thing I didn't like though was the rapid fire editing. Some of the cuts are so quick that you can barely tell what's happening. So holding on to certain shots for a few seconds longer would have heightened some of the experiences, allowing it to soak in a bit more. Like it has some of these car crashes, but it doesn't really show the car crash. It just crashes and then it shows it for like a second, and then it just goes on to the next one. It could have held on to the car on fire for a little bit longer. It doesn't have to show people hurt or anything like that, just the car on fire. But this has some of the most epic car crashes that somehow don't show fatal consequences. Adding the morality aspects to the film, and including how people risk their lives to be Formula One racers, feels like a missed opportunity. It does glorify racing, but it doesn't get into the cost of racing. It's also got some frivolously forced subplots that could have been cut to make room for more interesting characters. The film was written by Aaron Kruger. And even though the script starts off slowly, it does build up speed after the first hour. This movie's really long, but you don't really feel the runtime. It's like 2.5 hours long, but it only feels like an 90-minute movie. So that says something about the pacing. And yeah, it does suffer from sports movie cliches, like the hero that comes out of retirement. You got the mentor rookie dynamic. You got the lovable underdog against the slick corporate favorite. You have the obligatory montage training sequence. You have the hero with a tragic backstory. And overly long dramatic pit stops, like the last race against all odds cliche, quote unquote. You probably couldn't see me doing the air quotes because I'm in the corner on the screen, but I did it. So if you've seen movies like Days of Thunder or Talladega Nights, then you know exactly what kind of movie you're in for. But predictability doesn't mean bad movie, not necessarily. I like how the drama comes from behind the scenes of professional racing. It's not just a rival team who's always cheating all the time and that's how they're the champions. It's not cheesy like that. No, no, no. There's more corporate influence involved. So that's a neat little narrative trick they do. It's almost like a soap opera in that regard because all the business drama behind everything. Because, there's sponsors and stuff like that. But I don't want to say too much because there's betrayals that go on and stuff. And it's interesting how the most dramatic parts aren't even the racing sometimes. One point of contention I do have, though, is that there's this unnecessary love story subplot. It just seems like it's out of nowhere. The movie didn't have to be 2.5 hours long. They could have cut that and it would have been fine. Like it wouldn't affect the story very much. But Brad Pitt plays Sonny Hayes. Damson Idris plays Joshua Pierce. He's the rookie. He's the one that Pitt's like training. Javier Bardem, sorry if I butchered that, is Ruben. He's the team owner and he's Sonny's friend. He's the one that's kind of sponsoring the whole racing thing that they're doing. He's got really good chemistry with Brad Pitt. Carrie Condon is Kate. She plays the love interest. She's good in the role, but she doesn't really have a whole lot of chemistry with Brad Pitt. And they don't even have that much screen time together, so it's hard to judge their chemistry. So their relationship doesn't even feel that romantic, really. But I don't want to say too much without spoilers. I love the score by Hans Zimmer. He crafts a hybrid of orchestral and electronic elements that percolate in the background, contributing to the adrenaline-filled tone. Another minor issue I have is the movie occasionally feels like a giant Apple commercial because of all the Apple products that are placed in it. Apple products everywhere. So, yes, this flick is the Fast and the Familiar, but in a good way. So, I'm not furious. I was on the edge of my seat. I was actually literally gripping like my couch armrests. I couldn't believe it. I haven't cheered like this at a movie in a long time. It's good that you don't necessarily have to be a Formula One fan to enjoy this. It actually got me interested in it because of the writing. Like, there's things about Formula One. I'm like, oh, is that a thing? And then I looked into it. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. That is a thing. And you can't really be all too mad that this movie has a formula when it's in the title. It was produced by Jerry Brockheimer. Sorry. He knows how to make good action movies. In fact, he's done some of my favorite all-time action movies. So this fits in alongside with them very well. It's a contemporary reinterpretation of a timeless story. And those are only bad when they're written generically. There's a lot of good stuff going on here. The way it's filmed really is the highlight. The race scenes inside and outside the cars. The way it's filmed affects the outcome. But keeping the plot simple allows room for characters to fuel the narrative. So if you like sports movies or driving movies like Days of Thunder or Talladega Nights or even Gran Turismo more recently, I highly recommend this movie for you. So my official grade for F1 is extra large popcorn. Starting to see a pattern here. And remember, 4 lefts don't make a right. Or do they? All right, here I am. So, I think we're at number 2. Which one's? Yes. Yeah, all right. At number 2, for best non-horror movie of 2025, Marty Supreme. No comments yet. That's cool. That's cool. All right. Share the screen again. Here's the poster. Maybe. Here we go. Marty Supreme was made on the budget of $65 million. It made $123.1 million worldwide. Here's the synopsis according to IMDb. Marty Mauser, a young man with a dream no one respects, goes to hell and back in a pursuit of greatness. This is the ping pong movie everybody's talking about. With good reason. Actually, ping pong is just a small fraction of what this movie is about. Sure, it drives everything that he's doing, but this is a very unconventional sports movie. And that's why it makes it so good. It was directed by Josh Safdie, one of the co-directors of Uncut Gems a couple years ago. And it adapts Marty Reisman's 1974 autobiography, The Money Player, telling an exaggerated version of the life and career of an American table tennis player. So the question remains, is this flick worth all the racket? It was written by Ronald Bronstein and Safdie. And I think some of the best movies are about irredeemable people who think they're the hero of their own story, even though they're clearly not. So I'm talking about movies like Goodfellas or Catch Me If You Can or The Wolf of Wall Street or even I Love You, Philip Morris, and the more recent Roofman that I was just talking about. Stories like that are fascinating to me. I love how the table tennis scenes are shot. They have this intense ferocity. It uses long, wide shots so you can see the ball going back and forth, but occasionally it shows the people hitting the ball close up. But it doesn't affect the action or anything like that. Like it does a good job of showing the games. The games are some of the most intense parts just because the way it's filmed. And each match adds to the story as the escalation towards the championship mounts. So when the championship happens, it's like a crescendo to the orchestrated chaos. And this movie is chaotic, let me tell you. Holy crap. The dramatic scenes in between the sports moments are equally compelling. How Marty meets people in his life is such an engaging story. Because Marty does whatever it takes, no matter how much damage or what the repercussions could cause, to get what he wants. He goes on a path of destruction involving family, friends, co-workers, investors, and sponsors, and the women in his life. And you won't believe how much his life just spirals out of control just so he can get what he wants. He's very selfish in that regard, too. He only really cares about himself. So I can see how people might have points of contention. Marty is a glorified con artist. Besides being a skilled ping pong player, he treats people like pawns in a cornucopia of chaotic calamities. He doesn't make connections with people in the traditional sense like you and me would. If somebody's not useful to them, they serve no purpose. And then he disregards them like they're nothing to him. He doesn't always think things through either. He's often just flagrantly acting off intuition rather than plans. So a lot of times in difficult situations, he has to act on the fly because of that. And some might argue that the plot is formulaic because Marty repeatedly gets in a tremendous opportunity handed to him. He loses that opportunity and then he gets another opportunity, only for that one to get unscrupulously yanked away too. And then just kind of wash, rinse, repeat after that. So yeah, the plot can get predictable. And this usually doesn't work for me, but every obstacle is so wildly unexpected. I couldn't believe it. Every time something happened, I'm like, okay, so what's going to happen now? Like, is he going to lose this one? Or how is he going to lose it this time? And then to see what happens, it's like, whoa, I can't believe they did that. So points for that. His perseverance is relentless, too. I was hooked from the moment he served his first ball. And again, this is a good example of logical storytelling because his actions have consequences. And then there's this riveting chain reaction because of everything that he's doing. But it's not just about what Marty's doing, it's about why he's doing it. Another unexpected thing about this movie was how funny it is. It's got this snappy, rapid-fire dialogue, but it had me laughing the whole time. And I really do believe that humor is key to establishing human connections with people and characters in movies. So when I wasn't holding my breath out of suspense, I was laughing my butt off. Now, some people might argue that this is the cliche Rocky story. They even have the Apollo Creed type character rival. But I got to push back on that because the journey is more satisfying than the actual destination. We know that he's gonna, I guess, mild spoilers, but we know what the outcome of this movie is gonna be. I'm not gonna say it exactly, but if you've seen any sports movie, you know what the outcome is gonna be. What the objective is and how it achieved doesn't play out the way that you think it would. There's a lot of unexpected twists and turns in this, and that's why it's so fascinating. Timothy Chalamet is superb as Marty Mauser. He was saying in different interviews that after he accepted the role in 2018, he began taking table tennis lessons that same year. And then he confirmed later on in different interviews that he was training for table tennis while filming other movies like Dune 1 and 2. So in between the scenes, he'd have a table like on set. He'd be practicing with the crew just so he could film this movie. I love dedication like that. That's very admirable. Admirable? However you say that. But yeah, that's dedication. And he carries the film effortlessly. I really do think this is an award-worthy performance. I'll be sad if he doesn't get the Oscar for this movie. While his character's actions are deplorable because of his selfishness to the point of contempt, he's so charming, it's hard not to like him. And by extension, it's hard not to root for him when he's playing his games. The table tennis games, not the life games with people. I didn't make that distinction. But yeah, he's the glue holding everything together. I was enamored by his electrifying performance. And Gwyneth Paltrow unexpectedly shows up as Kay. She plays an actress who has a flame with Marty. And think what you will of her, but she gives a pretty good performance here. And she has pretty good chemistry with Marty. It's grounded, believable, and relatable, both being his lover and his enabler. This is such an interesting choice for her to make a comeback role with. And it shouldn't be ignored. I was kind of surprised how good she was in this. And Fran Dresser is nearly unrecognizable as Marty's mother. She's good, but her role is kind of small. I kind of wish she had a bigger role. And I got to give a lot of credit to Odessa Erzion. Sorry if I butchered that, but she plays Rachel. She's a married childhood friend of Marty who is having an affair with him. And I think she deserves awards too because her performance is so good. It's because no one else can really operate at Marty's level except for Marty. And she's the one person in his life that actually matches wits with him. And he respects her for that. So she's kind of like the tenacious, treacherous equivalent to him. And not many people would be able to pull that off. But she does a good job. She pulls it off. And Kevin O'Leary of Shark Tank fame plays a wealthy entrepreneur that takes interest in Marty and his table tennis. He kind of wants to be a sponsor. But he does an excellent job too, considering how substantial and pivotal his role is. I wasn't expecting him to have such a big role in this movie. And considering he's not an actor, I'm impressed. And Tyler, the creator, also has a small part in this role as Marty's friend, who's like he's a taxi driver, but he's also a table tennis player too. He does so good, in fact. I look forward to seeing Tyler, the creator, in other projects in the future. He's that good of an actor, especially holding up against Timothy Chalamet like that. And then another noteworthy performance is Luke Manley as Dion, Marty's friend. He gives a grounded, emotionally heartfelt performance among these more famous actors. So he deserves praise for that. And again, I love the pulsating score composed by Daniel Lopatin. Sorry if I butchered that. It injects adrenaline into the film as it slowly, well, not slowly, but as it subtly percolates in the background. It's unlike anything I've seen in recent years how much the score affects this movie. It's awesome. So overall, this film's not quite a biopic. It's not quite a sports movie or a drama or a comedy, but it's certainly worth all the racket. It does such a good job of blending genres. It really says something when you can't place it in one category. The way it blends it is masterful. I love a traditional underdog movie. And this is thrilling from start to finish. It's a postmodern hustle story elevated by gargantuan, borderline ridiculous proportions, mirroring the protagonist himself. It's constantly at risk of collapsing under itself, but leaves you inspired purely by virtue of its eel-like slickness and rocky resistance. I highly recommend this because I think it's a stress-inducing, bouncy spectacle to behold. In a way, it's kind of like a game of table tennis itself. This frantic back and forth, driven by sheer cognitive will and the fluidity of an intrepid athlete. So if you like sports movies, I highly recommend this because there's so much more than that. My official grade for Marty Supreme is an extra large popcorn. So let's go to Letterboxd. I haven't been doing this. Okay. Get rid of this advertisement. Go away. Cool. So let's see. Put this down. Put this up. Bring this one down. Okay, here I am. No comments yet. That's cool. Okay, and now my number one movie of 2025 is, drum roll please, Caught Stealing. Let's get that poster up. I'm really surprised this movie's not being talked about more. I even watched this movie more recently because I had only seen it once before when it came out in theaters. And yeah, it still holds up. Usually I spend January to catch up with movies I haven't seen throughout the year. And I wait till closer to the end of the month, just to make sure. Love the poster. Classic. Okay. So, Caught Stealing was made on the budget of $19 million, and it made 33.1 worldwide at the box office. Okay. Here is the synopsis. Go away, not sponsored. When his neighbor asks him to take care of his cat, a former baseball prodigy now working as a bartender finds himself in the middle of gangsters without knowing why. He must use all his cunning to survive and understand what's happening. Okay, so this movie was directed by Darren Aronofsky, but this is a surprising departure for the director. He usually does more surreal things, and this is a straight up crime drama. Well, it does have a few violent scenes that nod to his darker tendencies. The film sidesteps all that surrealism for psychological intensity. Instead, this feels more like a Guy Ritchie movie. It's stylized, gritty, and fast paced. I love how it takes place in the 90s. The nostalgia factor is high, not because it makes references to that decade, but because it feels like it could have came out in the 90s, kind of like with some of the other movies I've described. Feels like a product of that time. And I got a feeling, just like with Black Bag, if this came out in the 90s, it would have been way more successful. And Aaron Aronofsky directs the hell out of this movie. I love the way this movie's shot. He leans into creative drone work with dynamic angles, using imaginative camera work. Like one standout moment is a tracking shot of a character scaling a fire escape. Then there's another shot that goes through the Unisphere in Queens, New York. I love the way they filmed it. The shots are very unique too. Every frame feels purposeful. So the film looks especially sharp, yet retains this gritty texture that evokes celluloid. I don't know if it was filmed on film or not, but I couldn't tell. So there's that movie magic aspect to it too. Is that the cinematography or just what the film looks like? Whether or not it was shot on film, it looks like it was. And that adds to the atmosphere too. Why it looks like it came from a different time. The match cuts are sharp, and the shot composition is deliberate. Aronofsky directs your eye to subtle details, and then those details pay off later on. Again, it's another example of logical storytelling. Logical storytelling at its best. This could come across as predictable. However, there's a filmmaking principle called the Chekhov's gun storytelling principle, and this is a textbook example of that. Very well written. And although the violence isn't constant, when it hits, it lands hard because the practical effects are realistic. That some parts made me wince. Like one time, they're trying to interrogate the main character, and they're clipping his stitches for his side, and ooh, ooh, just thinking about it makes me wince. It's brutal. Charlie Houston adapts his own 2004 novel, and the plot is full of satisfying curveballs. While some parts may feel a little too convenient, the pacing does a good job of keeping things moving. So it's a home run in that regard. I like how the plot is complicated, but not too complicated to understand. Because complicated plots don't always mean clever. So they do a good job of making sure that it doesn't go past that threshold. What it really excels at is blending action drama and comedy, Although I wish it was a little bit funnier, it still has those comedic moments. And again, that's important for character connections. But kind of like with some of the other movies I talked about, this movie does suffer from character overload. There's way too many characters. With so many faces on screen, it's kind of hard to keep track of who's who. And some of them disappear for a long time and then don't come back till later on. And it's like, oh yeah, that person. So Austin Butler plays the main character. And then Zoe Kravitz is like his love interest. They have really good chemistry. I thought they were good together. Vincent D'Onofrio and Lee Schreiber play a couple of rabbis. They're more mysterious, so I don't want to say much about them, but they're nearly unrecognizable. They bring humor, menace, and a surprising amount of heart to the film. Regina King plays Roman. She's the cop on the case. And her intensity gives the film emotional weight. She's so good in this role. But let's not forget the main character of this movie. I'm talking about the cat. It's all about the cat. Maybe I'm biased because I'm such a cat person, but Tonic the cat plays Bud, and he steals the show. There's no debate. Even the end credits in this movie are a treat. It's got this fun animated sequence with the cat, and then it's followed by this colorful kinetic word dancing thing that they do as it goes along with the beat. Like every time the music changes, the credits will change too. So instead of scrolling the traditional way, it'll come from like the left side, or it comes from like the top down, and it just keeps switching. It changes colors, it changes music. Even the credits are entertaining. It's not your typical scrolling text. It's so much fun. So this is the classic wrong place, wrong time kind of tale. But the film doesn't rely on obvious nostalgic cues. It feels like something from that era. Aronofsky injects this kinetic energy and visual flair, while the cast delivers mostly strong performances, especially Butler and Kravitz. I'm not usually a fan of Zoe Kravitz, but she's really good in this. It's not as funny as advertised, and the cast does kind of dilute the narrative impact sometimes, but there's still a lot of good things going on. Like the cast really steps up to the plate. And I like how the title has multiple meanings too, because the main character was a former baseball player. So it has to do with stealing bases, but there's other things too that I can't really get into without spoilers. So I'm going to leave it at that. My biggest issue with the movie is some of the characters kind of lack context for their motivation. So when they do things, it's unclear why they're doing it. And Matt Smith is good too, but his role isn't as big as some of the other characters. Considering how crucial his role is, you think he'd have a bigger part. So I was kind of hoping to see more of him. I love his mohawk though. Right there. Love the mohawk. Not many people could pull that off, and he does. So yeah, that character is kind of one-dimensional, and a lot of the other characters, aside from like Roman and the rabbi, they're kind of one-dimensional too. And a point of contention could be that the plot is formulaic. Well, excuse me, formulaic. But it's called a formula for a reason. When it's implemented well enough, it really works. That's why movies like this keep getting made. There's a reason for it. And I'm actually really glad that people keep making these kinds of movies because it keeps the genre alive. But I can't help but wonder what this movie would look like if Guy Ritchie was the one to direct it instead. Because this is right up his alley. It's very similar to movies like Snatch and Baby Driver and The Usual Suspects. So if you like movies like that, this one's for you. On a more personal note, too, I got fond memories for this movie too, because this came out in late August and I was on a family vacation. And one of the traditions that we have as a family, whenever we go on vacation somewhere, is we go to the movies together, to go to a movie theater that we haven't been to before. So on vacation, this is the movie that we saw together. So I really appreciate that. That's the reason why it's so high up on my list, because I have really good memories. And the theater that we went to was incredible. So if you like crime dramas, if you like baseball, or if you like Austin Butler or Matt Smith or anybody in this cast, or if you like cats, Kids of Bud, then this movie's for you. And if you take yourself out to the ball game, it's worth bringing peanuts and Cracker Jacks, especially this game. So my official grade for caught stealing is an extra large popcorn. Here I am. Kind of. Okay, this concludes tonight's episode. I hope you enjoyed my top 5 best non-horror movies of 2025, plus the honorable mentions. Do you agree with my list? Do you disagree? Leave comments below and we can talk about it. Is there anything that you thought was the best movie that I didn't include? I know I mentioned a few things before. I wasn't really wowed by some of those other ones, like Hamnet or One Battle After Another. They were okay, but they're not really for me. These are the kind of movies that really describe who I am. And they say the kind of movies you watch really describe your personality too. And that's the good thing about these lists. They're personal. Everyone's got their own perspective. Everyone looks at art differently, and everyone has their reasons for liking different things. So these are my reasons for my list. I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. And I will see you next week. Have a good night.
So, until next time,
I'll see you at the movies.
have a great day. Did you know that I'm a film critic for HorrorBuzz.com? You can read my reviews on their website, so I'll leave links below for that too.
And remember, keep going to the movies, y'all. Support art. Bye.